You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you a little bit about our current sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. As you well know, if you've been following This is Oklahoma, they've been a huge part of this podcast. So this podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode down at the Bedford studio today to talk about movies. Obviously, if you've been living in Oklahoma, you know about the movie business. You know it's coming here, or it is here, and yeah, I mean, if you don't, you've probably been living under a rock. But my guests today are here to talk about the movie business and the movie that they are making. It's a horror movie. Gents, apologize. I hate horror movies, so it's unlikely that I will watch it because I'm like a little girl when it comes to that. If I go to watch a horror movie, I'm tucked behind my knees, like scared. This isn't a horror movie, but I got scared watching The Mummy when I was a kid. Like jumpy stuff, and I watched Signs once, and it horrified me. And then I've watched it a couple of times because it's on my wife's birthday and we have to go watch it. And that's the only horror movie I'll ever watch because my wife drags me to the cinema. Anyway, so that's that.
Well, please drag him to our premiere.
I'll come to the premiere for sure. I'll take photos on the red carpet and come and hang out and an excuse to dress up and wear a little velvet. But before we dive into that stuff, please individually introduce yourselves and I guess tell us a little bit about kind of like your Oklahoma story as well, and then we'll go from there. Whoever wants to go first.
All right. Well, I'm Lucas Stanfield. I played Tim in the movie, and I grew up in Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma to be specific, and I wrestled. And honestly, I just got into acting about a year and a half ago, and just been hitting it hard after that.
My name is Terrance. I have lived in Oklahoma all my life, born and raised in Midwest City. Moved to Oklahoma City for college and have lived here ever since. Always loved horror movies, even as a child, unlike some people in this room. And I just always have a passion. I always wanted to be in a horror movie. Never thought I would act in a horror movie, but it's been a great experience.
Yeah.
Hi there, everybody. My name is Isaiah J. Williams. Yes, I have to put the J in there because it's the website that I'm paying for. I'm born and raised in Oklahoma City. I've lived here most of my life. I moved to Chicago for a year. I lived in Louisville, Kentucky for about 8 months. I majored in theater in college. I haven't done much film work. I'm very much a stage actor. But this has been just a fun time. I will not say I've always liked horror movies. That's not the truth. I've always been fascinated by the idea of being scared.
Yeah.
And so I would watch those like haunted travel shows. And then I think I really just kind of fell into my love of horror movies in college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That makes sense. Like, I mean, it's just like anything, right? You're just like, if you find a passion doing something, you just dive into it. And then you sense, like, for me, like we sense that kind of adrenaline rush, don't we? For you, it's clearly trying to watch scary movies. For me, it's definitely not. But some people jump out of planes and some people race cars, whatever it is. But Lucas, go back a little bit. So you grew up in Norman. Tell me about like high school and wrestling and stuff.
Well, I wrestled at Norman High School. I started wrestling when I was 4, so put in 15 years or so, and just really hit
pretty intense.
Yeah, and that's where my adrenaline comes from.
Yeah.
Not like y'all in the scary movies. Like, I'm not really a scary movie person. I get terrified. Yeah. Just like you. And yeah, I'm more of a comedy kind of guy.
Yeah. So you said you were only taking the acting really recently. Yeah. What kind of drew you into that? And I guess before you chose acting, where were you? I mean, where did you think your career was going to go before that?
I still plan on getting on the fire department somewhere, but I just started out wanting to get out of shyness because I'm extremely shy, and I just want to get better at my communication skills. And
you should start a podcast. That's what happened to me. I was terrible at it, and now I get to talk to people, and I'm telling you, it helps 100%. Well, that's really cool. Hopefully, you get on the fire department. I know it's not easy to do, but hopefully, you get in and I mean, power to you. It's a great profession to be in, and there's special people want to be firemen because, again, I do not want to run into a burning building, but you're a special person for doing it, and I'm sure you'll get in. So I'd love to hear more about that when you get in. But the acting side of things, it makes sense, like kind of pushing the boundaries and kind of taking a risk, right? And kind of just, a lot of people who, people might listen to this and have a child or be a little bit shy themselves and think they kind of embrace that shyness, right? But you're kind of opening the door and pushing the boat out and thinking, you know what, I'm gonna put myself in an uncomfortable situation, and I can't think of a more uncomfortable situation than acting on stage, on stage or on camera. So that's awesome. Terrance, obviously, you said you didn't think you'd be acting. People listening, watching, obviously know you for Oklahoma City Young Professionals and craft communications and stuff like that. Tell me about this and how this came about, like being in a movie.
Just like Lucas, I'm incredibly introverted myself, so it takes a lot of energy to be extroverted. So last year during the pandemic, I found myself really being withdrawn, just because we had to isolate for a long, extended period of time. I just got a little bit comfortable with that, and then once, the restriction starts being lifted and people start going out, I realize, okay, I need to do something a little bit out there to not hide anymore. So Isaiah and I were talking about we should make a movie. Like, it's the perfect time. Like, it's 50 years ago, it probably would have been impossible with, no money to make a movie. But now with state-of-the-art iPhones and great cheap audio equipment, you can pretty much do anything. So that's kind of what came about. That was just making a movie just because we wanted to have some fun, kind of restore us in our art. He's an actor. I'm a videographer. So we wanted to do something that kind of reignited our passions after, being locked away for a few months. I had no intention of acting in the film. So we originally started filming the movie in March, and we finished it, and then in a freak accident, the footage got lost.
Oh, no.
So that was really hard for all of the cast and crew. And so we were like, well, what do we want to do? Do we want to just make it, start over? And then I think Lucas and Isaiah both had really good ideas of how about we just make a movie about the movie, have the actors be real life people, and start there. So that is why the film is called The Unintended Sequel. And that is how I got to be acting in the movie.
Unintentionally. That makes sense. Yeah. Oh, I can't imagine the heartbreak going through with all the hard work you put in and the footage that you just like, guys, it's gone. Who told you that? Who had to make that phone call?
It was actually our DP, director of photography. He actually had to make that phone call to me.
It's not a phone call I ever want to make. But hey, we wouldn't have this situation right now, and I'm sure it probably comes across more natural now.
Yeah,
right? Like you're just like, hey, we're just talking about the however long we just spent making a movie, and now it's like, oh, now like I said, it's more natural. You're not probably better for the actors to just, hey, we have to talk about an experience that we've had, not try and think or try and create an experience that we haven't had yet. So
it's a blessing in disguise.
That's awesome.
It really was.
It
really is.
And you get to spend more time together.
We actually became really good friends.
And improve on everything we made a mistake on. So
and joke about it, right? Or talk about it in the new movie. Isaiah, obviously you're the one that kind of comes from a full acting background growing up. Where's that first kind of memory of you wanting to be an actor growing up? Are you like just singing in front of your family and while they're trying to watch football or whatever? Like, where does that come around?
Very much so that.
Yeah.
I started doing stage stuff when I was in second grade.
Okay.
Just summer camps. Like my mom trying to get me out of the house. She was like, "Here, go do this," and I was like, "Okay, great." And found out this is a lot of fun. And then I was in middle school, and I saw a production of Rapunzel done at a community center, and I was like, "Oh my God, this was the best time I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Let me go join this class." Eerily enough, that's where I work right now.
Brilliant.
But yeah, and then it was my junior year of high school that I was like, okay, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I was in a production of The Color Purple at Poteet Theater. And I remember I walked off stage after one of the songs and I was like, oh my God, I think this is it. I think that this is the thing that makes sense to me the most in my life. And I have to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, I don't know what else I was going to say, but yeah.
What is I mean, now I'm sure it's a lot different. There's a lot more acting opportunities, classes, workshops. What was it like when you were doing it compared to what it is now? Like when you're growing up in high school or whatever, and you're like, hey, I want to go act. And most people like, Oklahoma, acting, really? Right? I mean, I know Matt, Payne, and Rachel, like they kind of spoke about going to OCCC, and Gray Fredrickson was teaching in class there, but now I'm sure there's more opportunities. When you make that decision to like, this is for me, then obviously you deep dive in and think, I'm going to take every class I can. What was that like?
I really didn't take a lot of classes growing up.
Okay.
I did a lot of like high school drama. I did that pretty much all 4 years of my high school career. I just found myself doing a lot more community theater and just like learning on the job, basically. Yeah. And I don't know, I guess I've always kind of had this in me, I guess. Like when you're a theater kid, you're a theater kid. Yeah. And theater kids have a certain way of like, living. And I guess I just kind of fell into it in that way.
Do you ever go to any of the OKC improv stuff?
I've gone one time that I can remember. I auditioned for them. It was a lot of fun. I worked with their former artistic director in a cabaret once. They're so fun.
Yeah.
They're just so freaking fun.
That, like, talking to Lucas, what you mentioned about being shy and jumping into the deep end, like that to me is like fire. Like, I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna go do that, like that's pretty freaking scary stuff. But just because if you're naturally introverted, right, you're gonna put yourself in a room and try and like, it's like that scene from the movie Fame, right, where they're like, loosen up, and it's just like, I don't know what to do with my hand or whatever. That's kind of me. Like I find it hard to. I think probably naturally, like we're all kind of introverted a little bit anyway. But
that's so funny.
Yeah.
That never goes away.
Never goes away. You just get used
I still have no idea what to do with my hands right now, even in this moment. You all may not be able to see it, but I'm literally like, what do I do with my hands?
You mentioned going to Chicago. What time is that? Tell me about that.
I moved to Chicago in 2018. I was there 2018, 2019.
Okay.
And really it was just to continue to further my theater career and learn where the theater's out there. It was the time of my life, I will say. Hard time because I have never... Like, no one in my family has ever done, like, the arts fully. Yeah. And so moving to another state as an artist was strange. I didn't know how to do that as well as I thought I did. And so had a great time, did 10 shows in total. I worked mostly as a designer and a director. Okay. I think I performed in one show that was a lot of fun, and then the company brought me back to direct, and they brought me back again, actually, to do a reading. And so it's a lot of, like, making friends and a lot of, like... It may be like there's in Chicago there's a community of storefront theaters. Essentially, is what it sounds like. Yeah. Basically, theaters are stuck inside of stores, stuck inside of old buildings and things like that. And while that community may seem very, very small, like it may seem very, very small time, storefront theater is probably the best fun I've ever had. Okay. It's just a lot of it's camaraderie. You know that you're probably not going to get paid very much, but your commitment to each other, your commitment to the show is the thing that like that trumps everything. Gotcha. And that's what makes it so enjoyable.
Yeah. And then you have a great experience and decide to come back to Oklahoma. Did you come back to Oklahoma because you knew the movie business was kind of blowing up here, or did you just think that, it's just my time and I need to go and actually make some money?
I wish.
And not spend $4,000 a month on rent, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's a funny story. I was paying $750 in rent, and my apartment was the size of this table. It was a time. But actually, I had moved to Louisville, Kentucky before I moved home. Okay. I was participating in an apprenticeship with the Actors Theater of Louisville. And it was right at the height of, we just opened because every year they do this thing called the Humana Festival of New American Plays. We just opened our apprenticeship play the first day of March 1st. By the time March 20th hit, Louisville is shut down. Right. For the pandemic. Yeah. And so I packed up my entire apartment in about a day and a half and fled back here. Yeah.
Come on back. Come on home. So tell us about this movie then. Obviously, before you lose all the footage and it ends up being the sequel, where are you starting? Who writes the story? Like, dive into it. I want to know as much as you want to tell me, other than who is the killer, obviously. Who wants to go first?
Sure, I can go first. This actually began eerily enough as a play. Okay. We started to write a two-hander play called The Lake, about a couple who go on a weekend retreat to a cabin. It's a mixed-race couple. and how they're having to deal with their own biases and insecurities when it comes to being in that kind of relationship. And then it morphed into a movie, and then I'm trying to think what else tracked. I'm missing something in the middle of here, but before we get to the unintended sequel, or excuse me, the house that Eve built. We took it from a cabin on the lake to a house.
Okay.
A couple moving brand new house. Same sort of issues. How we it talks about how we express our biases or how we don't express our biases, or how we kind of live through things with blinders on, just to get through them. And then it was at that point that the footage disappeared. And so Terrance had to go back to the drawing board. We all had to go back to the drawing board and kind of figure out what was going to happen next.
Yeah.
And Terrance came up with this idea of this newish movie.
Right.
That stems from the work that we did for the first 2 movies, technically.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah. Where does Donovan fit in? Because I know you mentioned, obviously, previous podcast guest Donovan Farrow is
clearly part of the movie, which I didn't know until today.
Surprising.
Yeah.
He doesn't like you then. Everyone
clearly
else
doesn't.
I'm just kidding.
Thanks, Donovan. I appreciate it.
Donovan is the director. He stars in the movie as well.
Okay.
And he came on board when we were going to actually first film the house that Eve built.
Okay.
So to what Isaiah was saying, we had to change locations because there's not many cabins by lakes here in Oklahoma, and if there were too many other cabins close by for just different aerial shots. So we really needed some inclusion. So we really wanted to film it in Oklahoma. But most of the cabin by the lakes that we were looking for was in Arkansas and Kansas. So we felt like, well, let's just change it from the lake and make it a house. Let's say they moved to a brand new house. So that's where we came up with the house that Eve built. And so we did go back in May and shoot some additional scenes, as we were still hoping that the footage could be still salvaged from what we filmed in March. Mm-hmm. So that's where I came on. So originally it was just Alicia and Justin that played Sam and Scott in March. They were the only two main characters. And it was a horror movie because I want to say the best examples, like the Amityville Horror, kind of what they were going through, what the house was doing to them, kind of exposing, like Isaiah said, some of their biases. So anyway, we wrapped up on that Friday and then realized maybe we need to film some additional scenes. So we were like, well, we need to have another character. And so I'm like, well, I'll do it. I won't get paid, so I'll do it.
Yeah.
So in May, we came back, filmed some additional scenes with Alex. Isaiah played the ghost. It was probably just, the footage we got was superb. It was amazing stuff. And then we found out that we could not at all recover the footage we lost in March. So we didn't know what we were going to do because we got all this great footage in May, but we need the footage for March to actually make the movie. So we were like, well, we should make a short film. Let's just make the short film. Let's give it out, to the people and see what happens. Donovan and I were talking about, we need to make an actual movie. Like, what can we do? Should we film more parts in it? I'm like, no, we can't do that to Alicia and Justin. They spent so much time. We can't, Justin's now with, SAG. Alicia's busy. So it's like scheduling that we film, it's not, I think that not be possible. So I was like, well, how about we just make a direct sequel to the movie then?
Yeah.
So one of my favorite horror movies is Scream. Just because it's very tongue in cheek, and it's a take on.
You can see what's happening.
Exactly.
You know what's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, and then one of my favorite meta horror movies is Wes Craven's New Nightmare, where Heather Langenkamp, who plays the original Nancy Thompson, she's living her life as Heather Langenkamp, the real character, the real person, but Freddy comes back to life in the real world, attacking the actors and the director Wes Craven in the movie. So that was the inspiration for this film.
Yeah.
Is what happens if we unleash this evil that was in House That Eve built on the cast and crew to make a meta horror movie.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like docu-style, like Get Out was, but it's still a great horror movie. It's a fun time. So
yeah,
and that's how the unintentional sequel came about. Mm-hmm. So
it's awesome that obviously this came from basically 2020, and everyone wanted to throw a project together so we can get out of our shell, hang out a little bit, and now it's become a 2-year process that's just become, or a 1-year process that's become so much fun, and you have so many stories about it and so much more connection with the cast and production and everybody. It's a lot more than just a movie, isn't it?
Oh, it's definitely more than a movie. I would say it's I I never wanted kids, but it's a kid. It's a 1-year-old now.
It's 1-year-old.
Yeah, it's been an amazing. I think why we are still so connected to it and why we love it as much as we do is because it's a part of us now. Like this is something that brought us together. I was in a fraternity and we've gone through a lot of stuff, and that's why I have lifelong brothers and I have a lifelong connection to the cast and crew of this film, and which is what it's about. I mean, before The House That Eve Built, which is still a short film, we're going to premiere it along with this film, give people context.
Yeah.
That movie was just about, exposing your truth and your biases and how sometimes we don't really say what we really want to say. But this movie is a huge take on talent and how some people who have really God-given talent just sit there and waste it away and do nothing, while people who are just mediocre at best are fighting just to have a little bit of that talent.
Right.
So you have like this rivalry that goes on within this friend group over, who's the star, who's not the star, and what someone's willing to do to become the star. So,
yeah, I mean, we see that in all areas of life, right? You play sports against someone who's not naturally talented, but they're better. They're better because they work extremely hard than someone who's naturally gifted, doesn't realize how gifted they are, and lacks the effort. Then, don't they? And it's kind of heartbreaking to see. I'm sure for some dads and coaches out there, it's even worse. Which we don't have to talk about that because I'm sure there's people listening who've had plenty of those experiences. But you're right. That's really cool to have that kind of point about them, to come around from the movie and it's a horror, it's a scary movie, but there's plenty of meaning behind it that ties into, like I said, your biases and real world examples, which is nice to have. It's a good message. People need to hear that.
It is, especially after 2020. I feel like a lot of us was just very lost. One of my business coaches was telling me that our generation is taking this a lot harder because this is the first huge crisis that has happened. I mean, of course, September 11th, but we were a little too young to understood what's going on. So it was a lot. And so I just feel like that we had to, for me personally, I had to battle with my own demons about imposter syndrome and am I good enough? Can my business survive? Do I have what it takes? And watching other people just coast on through. Just this movie's just about you need to compare yourself.
Right. Yeah. And then obviously for you guys, for you guys, not being able to go on stage during this time, right, and kind of express and be yourself and stress relief, whatever it is. Like I said, everyone was kind of stuck at home doing nothing, right? Sadly scrolling till the end of trying to find the bottom of the internet on our phones, watching Netflix all week. It's not mentally good for anyone. So I'm sure for you, not being on stage or not acting around friends, and that must have been tough too.
Oh yeah. I was very, very sad for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was not myself for about 8 months.
Yeah. I mean, it's really tough kind of, talking about it, going back through the period, right? What we were doing, because there's a reason that we want to get out. There's a reason we love doing what we do. Thankfully I was able to play golf, which is nice. But there's other. I can't. For me, I couldn't go and do my job basically and network and hang out, which is a lot of what you guys do. And it is hard to talk about it. And I think as men, just in general, we don't like to talk about our feelings, our mental kind of wellness, stuff like that. But
no, we just go golf.
Exactly. Yeah, which actually makes it worse sometimes, right? Pick the hardest sport in the world to be good at. But no, I think just going forward, it's great to have you guys and a group that you have, and hopefully other groups can kind of learn from this. Is to let's all get together, let's figure this out. Okay, we lost our footage, let's make another one, right? And then even if the movie never came out, like you just mentioned, the bond that you have from that is far more important than whatever the movie does, which is really cool.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like we create too. That's the purpose of creation. Is not just the product that you make; it's the things you find along the way.
Yeah. When's the movie coming out, or both movies?
So hopefully the first movie, the short film, will come out in November of this year, December. And then the Unintended Sequel will come out next year, spring. But we're hoping to have a premiere of the film with our backers and a few of our closest friends and families at the Tower Theater in December. So that's also be kind of a testing audience too. So they'll kind of tell us which ending they liked, how they feel about the climax, the killer, the hero. So
Yeah. After this, then, I mean, now that I guess everything is probably in editing right now, so you're done all acting, and sadly, you guys
for now, still waiting on the if we need to reshoot.
Okay.
Anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Donovan.
If you can hear us.
he's too busy saving some bank in Japan from getting
That's
$1 billion
why he has an
ransoms.
amazing team in Alias.
It's very
Gives
amazing.
him a lot of free time to let us know about the reshoots.
Well, where are you guys going from here? Like, this is the first project that you guys have worked on together. Like, where's the plan? Where's the future going? Do you want to make more movies? Lucas, obviously, dipping your toe in the movie business. You want to get into it even more. Just kind of stuff like that. Where do you see the future going?
It's given me a lot of confidence that I can go out there and audition a lot more and continue educating myself in the acting and film business, whether it be acting or behind the camera. I can continue to grow my knowledge and anything that I do. So
yeah. Terrance, with you not expecting to be in the movie, what do you see yourself trying to get into more movies now?
Actually, I'm auditioning for a play that actually the city of Oklahoma City is doing. So that's my first time ever auditioning for a play. I liked it a lot. It's nice being someone else for a change.
Yeah. And Isaiah, I guess, this is your career, right? So you hope to be in this for a long time.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah. What's the next plays that's coming up or projects that you're working on?
Well, now that you mention it.
Yeah, time to plug whatever you want.
Oh, yes. I'm directing a production of August Wilson's Gem of the Ocean. We opened December 3rd with OKC Parks and Rec.
What are the other opportunities for people who might be experiencing the same as Lucas had and want to get into acting and like it seems like that there's an opportunity at this place to come and learn and grow or whatever?
Absolutely. I hold an adult class every semester.
Okay.
So feel free to come out. We're doing a musical review next semester. I'm very, very excited about that. It's all Broadway. It's all theater kid, okay? Theater kid.
Where at?
Taylor Recreation Center on Southwest 70th and Western.
Okay. Do you enjoy the teaching side of things?
I do, actually.
Yeah. Really
I
enjoy
love
it.
being on stage. I also love, I love sharing this art form with people.
Okay.
It's such an important thing, and it's been around for centuries.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see it die just yet.
Makes sense. Let me ask you this: if you could make a movie in Oklahoma City, what location would you want to shoot at? About the movie, just like there's so many cool buildings in Oklahoma City. Where would you like to get into, or houses?
That's a great question. Okay, I think I have this. So in Nichols Hills, there's this gigantic white mansion. Like, it's huge. I would love to I don't know what kind of movie I'd make there, but I would love to just be inside that. I've never seen inside of it before.
Yeah.
I would love to see the inside of that building and be like, oh, look at all the pretty things. Look at all the pretty things.
Yeah.
Yes,
Is that the one off Penn?
Yes, Penn and Wilshire.
Yeah. On the left, as you drive this
on
out.
the left.
It looks great at Christmas.
Yes,
Very
they do it
good.
up so well.
Great house.
Whoever you all are.
Whoever you are, if you're listening, I'd love to tour it as well. I want to see that house. Guys, anything else?
Speaking of where I want to film or do anything in, there's a place in Norman. It's the old Griffin Hospital. I'm not big on horror stuff again, but it
Seems like a perfect fit.
It seems like a perfect fit to do something there.
Yeah. A little bit more about the movie then. Like, obviously, Lucas, you said you played Tim in the movie.
Yeah.
But tell me about Tim as a character, and then I guess we'll talk about all your guys' characters as well.
Well, Tim, he brings out the comedic relief throughout the whole film, and he's kind of in a shell a little bit. He just doesn't care about anything really. He just wants everybody to be calm and just be cool with each other. He's kind of on the higher side of things and likes to have fun. And
Literally.
I was gonna say, is that code? Yeah. Which dispensary sponsored your podcast, your movie? Yeah.
Constantly chasing that high.
Constantly chasing that high.
And he has a closer bond with a specific character. Sean.
Yeah.
Shawnee.
The Timmy and Shawnee mix up.
Yeah.
Get to know it, and
That's awesome.
Tim definitely brought out a different side of Lucas.
Gotcha.
For sure.
Yeah. Terrance, what about you? What's your character like?
I play Peter. Peter is a very successful, very goal-driven person, but at the same time, he's very insecure. He has a lot of resentment towards one of the characters, and he feels like he's constant in need to prove himself. So he has I'm trying to think of that right personality disorder, but I can't think of it. So he's intense. He's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I play Sean. He is very much a broken-hearted boy. Sort of like he was very successful playing a certain kind of character, and he realized one day that like he's tired of that. And in the wake of that, he's not working very much, and so the depression's hitting. The apartment's a mess. He's just sad often. And then he, reconnects with these folks and tries to find his way back out of it. But it takes him a while to realize how much talent that he has and how to market that and make him believe in the star that he already is.
Gotcha.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. That's I'm sure it's like it's sometimes it's tough playing roles, right? And part of us like some of the things you mentioned, I'm like, oh, that's me. Like I don't know how I could do that. But talking about the whole movie, right? Like the biases and stuff, when you're playing parts of roles and you might see certain parts of yourself or each other in the roles, it makes it super real then, doesn't it? And it makes those conversations that you have around outside of the movie even more special and better, because then we're open, we talk, we grow. So I'm sure there's moments during the movie that you're like, none of the cameras are rolling, but you guys are just having an actual real conversation. And making you better persons, and back to that connection, that bond, that it's like it's not really about the movie as much, but about the people that we're around and the relationships that we build going forward.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I think everyone on the cast and crew hated Peter. I mean, it was very obvious. I mean, the AD would bring water to everyone, and she'd be like, "Not you, Peter. You can get it yourself." But I'm like, I'm playing a character.
Yeah,
I'm playing a character. But it made me think about some of the things that Peter does. I mean, Peter's. You have to watch the movie, but I empathize with him at points. I understand him. I understand him a lot more than I thought I would. And it just made me realize, empathy is very important.
Yeah.
You have to understand. You may not truly get why people are how they are, but it's not up to you to get it.
Yeah. I guess back to movie business in Oklahoma. Were you surprised how easy it was to put this production together, being in Oklahoma?
I was actually. When we first did this, we limited ourselves on location. That's why we were so fixated on filming in one location, because we were like permits and this and this and this. But in Oklahoma, especially in Oklahoma City, you have to, if you want to film, I think in a city.
Like if it's like a city park or a city entity,
you have to have a permit. But you can kind of film at any other location that's privately owned. And so everyone was so willing to let us use like either their restaurant, their bar, their business office. I mean, shout out to Spring Green Lawn Care, Alias, Juniors, a lot of other places that let us use their place. And everyone was just so inviting. People would just walk by and ask what we're doing, making a film, and they're like, "Oh, wait, when it's." It was just people were just they're excited. The excitement here is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a kind of a vibe now, isn't it? And I hate to use that word too much, but it's true. But like the movie business bug, I guess, is now in Oklahoma City, and it's cool to get like that input and kind of acceptance from the community, right? Because there's some times where you might be doing something or shooting something, and even in your business you might be shooting a commercial or whatever, and people are just like, "Oh, the road is blocked, you're taking up too much time, just want to go get my coffee," right? And now it seems like, oh, that's super cool, like tell me more about it, and hopefully that it continues going forward. And
they're the ones that's slowing down traffic. Seeing what's going on.
100%. So you said November, December, roughly, time is coming out, premiere at the Tower. How can people get into that premiere at the Tower?
Be a legitimate friend or family member of the cast or crew. Legitimate.
So you have at least 6 months. Oh, no, you don't have. You have 2 months, basically, to build a relationship with you guys. Starting now. Links to everybody's social media pages in the bio.
Yeah, we're super excited. We just got the official film poster today. Everything, y'all, it's awesome.
It's fantastic.
It's awesome. Yeah, so...
I guess so last thing, and before we get done, there must be some really cool scenes in there. What is your personal favorite scene from the movie?
Let's start over there.
Okay. I think, and it changes every time I get asked this question. Every time it changes. Today, my favorite scene has got to be. No, not that one. I think. So we did some shooting at Alias Forensics, and there's a scene in the office where we go investigate, trying to find someone's been sending us really, really cryptic messages and really cryptic notes. So we're on a hunt to find this person, and Lucas and I share some lines back and forth. We're just like jostling each other down the hallway. Like, I don't even know how to describe what the...
Can you say the line? We can do that.
Okay. I
wrote it. We're good. We can do that.
I say something like...
you want to say your line then?
Gosh.
We should split up, right?
Oh, yeah, I say, we should split up, guys.
I say something like, because that's the horror movie trope, why people don't want to split up.
Yeah.
And then we go off down the hallway. It's like, don't ever talk to me like that again, Tim. Like bickering back and forth.
And Tim is always mocking Sean, no matter what the conversation is. And shoot, speaking of mocking, my favorite scene is definitely at Junior's at the bar. Mm-hmm. We have our conversation, and man, it's just so, I don't know, it's a very comforting vibe for, I think, both of us. And it's very, very open conversation throughout the whole scene.
Yeah.
And Tim just doesn't care, obviously, and he'll stand up and make Sean uncomfortable no matter what the situation is.
Which is probably really funny to watch, because while you're acting, you're probably feeling super comfortable about just acting in general, right? Yeah. And you're nervous and you're like, but then you've got to make him be uncomfortable. It's kind of a weird...
They switch, yeah. When filming a movie, they switch. Isaiah's like the bubbly one. Lucas is like kind of the reserved one, but in the movie, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite, which must be really cool to see. And then, like I said, that's kind of the value that you get from acting, right? Is that you know that, okay, even though I'm acting as Tim, I know that I have this as part of myself, which is really cool. So that's awesome. Excited. I will watch it now that I've met you guys and chatted and connected. I think I'll have to watch it.
We promise we're nice.
I hope that I built a friendship to come to this. Come to the
it's just a movie.
The movie theater.
It's just a movie. Don't think I'm that way in real life, please.
Me either. Please don't.
Lucas is like, no, I'm like this all the time. It's like, this is who I want to be.
I feel like Lucas is going to have the most people coming up to him at grocery stores and everything else, like, just because he has this, he says this line with Sean, because Sean reveals something about himself to him, and I don't think Tim understands exactly what this means, so he's like, dude, me too, I'm blank for you too. And so it's like people just come up to you at the grocery store.
Brilliant. That will happen.
It will happen.
Yeah, it will happen. Awesome. Well, gents, it's been a pleasure. I'm excited to watch it, excited to learn more about it, excited to find out who the killer is, to see Lucas's character, Isaiah's character obviously as well, and also see that Terrance make, I guess, your acting debut maybe? Mm-hmm. Yeah? See that. Where can people go to, I guess, I mean, is there a website for the movie? Do we have social media pages for it? Like, what are the handles and stuff like that?
They can go to the Unintended Sequel Movie on Instagram and Facebook.
All right, I'll post that link down in the description. And for everyone listening, we will catch you next episode. Cheers. This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.